Hey, this is a re-recording. Sorry it took me so long to record another one. It's just school's been a lot. Also, I kind of forgot I had this channel a little bit. No, let me rephrase that. I knew I had the channel. I just kept on forgetting to record. And then by the time I remember to record, everybody's home. And I can only record when no one's here. I don't like when people hear me record. Yay. Anyways, this is Tina Bar by Atia Blackcharm. Chapter 31. Izuku would have been ashamed of himself if he couldn't connect the dots together after following Dabi into the building that belonged to Endeavor. Much less how Dabi looked at the ball of fire in his hand, the ball of blue flame in his hand, and back up at the photo of Endeavor that was on the wall. He wondered if the others had the same thought he did. "Hey, are you coming down or not?" Shigaraki called from below in the alley, and Izuku was reminded that they were, in fact, trying to get out the building by the window. More specifically, scaling down the side of the building that had had some not so stable footholds. Well, actually, completely unstable. Izuku thought as he felt himself fall after grabbing a foothold that gave out on him. He was ready to hit the ground and possibly break a bone, except he didn't. Instead, he ended up hitting something softer, and when he opened his eyes, he saw Shigaraki looking down at him. Shigaraki caught him. The mask hid the wide-eyed expression that uh, uh, wide-eyed expression of Izuku, but not the words that came out of his mouth. "You're strong," he said, absent-mindedly. Then, from above, there was a snicker as Dawi was making his way out the window in the first into the first foothold. "Oh, is he? I thought he was a bag of dusty bones underneath that hoodie of his," the flame user said while sending an amused smile at them. Izuku could feel the annoyance settling into Shigaraki, as it usually did when Dabi decided to mess around with him. But before Shigaraki could respond, Dabi, um, the foothold Dabi half stepped on gave away mid-transition. He started falling just like Izuku had. Next thing anyone knew was that Izuku slipped out of Shigaraki's hold. He seemed to jump up the wall of the building onto the other side of the alley um, before pushing off and launching himself into the air at just the right spot to catch Dabi before hitting the other building and jumping back down to the floor. He landed with his knees bent and his skin glowing but not lightning. His hair was slightly disarray. In his arms, and in Izuku's arms, was a shocked Dabi. The man was in fact the same position from the man was in fact the same position from which Izuku gotten the nickname Princess. It was silent as Dabi looked at Izuku's masked face before looking at Shigaraki, who had an odd expression on his face. Dabi smirked. "Oh, you're jealous someone so small was able to catch me when you would have dropped me with your skinny-ass arms." Dabi, no, not Dabi. Shigaraki annoyed, annoyed, Shigaraki's Annoyed grumbles could be heard in the alley, clearly as he turned away and walked out. Izuku watched him leave and looked back down at Dabi, who made who hadn't made any move to get out of his arms. "What?" Dabi asked, still not moving from Izuku's hold. "Nothing," Izuku replied. Then Izuku started walking back out to the street while carrying Dabi in his arms. The young man as much did the young man not at all protesting. Eventually they meet up with the others who were waiting on the sidewalk. They were staring at the two of them a bit. Dabi still hadn't moved, and Izuku honestly didn't mind. 5 minutes later, "Dabi, do you want to move to my back instead?" "Sure." The others didn't say anything when they made the transition, and Toga took a photo once Dabi was comfortably sitting on Izuku's back, his head resting on top of Izuku's masked face, while his arms were draped over his shoulder. Izuku supported the back of his thighs and didn't seem to falter under the weight or position. They just kept walking. "Hey, Princess," Dabi said, while his head was still sat on top of Izuku's. "Yeah? What are you planning to do?" "What do you mean?" Izuku asked. One of Sorry, that was my mom. "Hey, Princess," Dabi said, while his head was while his head sat on top of Izuku's. "Yeah? What are you planning to do?" "What do you mean?" Izuku asked. One of Dabi's hands poked at Izuku's chest. "I mean about the future. You still want to be a hero, right?" "Yeah." "What type?" Dabi asked. "Underground, daylight, analytics, rescue?" Izuku hummed. What type of hero did he want to be? He always thought of daylight heroes when he was little, and those were the ones that All Might would talk about. And, and those were the ones that All Might would talk about with him. It was used to be fun listening to him. It was until the man only spoke about how Izuku would be perfect for daylight hero. Izuku followed along because he really didn't feel like he had a choice. But the idea of being in public and with so many eyes on him, most likely in the media with reporters, speculations, expectations, that always made him feel like another weight was being tied to him. A weight that felt more and more heavy, more and more real and heavy after one day he brought up underground heroes to All Might, and he wanted his mentor's opinion on some things Ozawa Sensei had told them about types of hero work and how it was different. Isuke wanted to hear his mentor's praise on the type of hero work that Izuku actually felt like he had a connection with, except he didn't. In fact, All Might had only applauded those heroes for about 2 sentences before com- before comparing it to daylight hero work. before telling Izuku tips on about keeping a smile in front of crowds and not letting villains from grab a hostage from the nearby spectators. Not once did the man tell him how he could have been a good how he could be been good in underground in oh my god. Not once did the man tell him how he could have been good in the underground hero field. He probably wouldn't even think about the other types. Izuku adjusted his grip on Dobby's leg. I don't think I have much of a choice when it comes to tie. Why not? Dobby asked, and Izuku could feel how they tilted their head. I just never do. Izuku-kun, can you carry me next, please? Dobby, Toga asked, as she walked in front of them backwards. She had been talking to them for a while. Dobby continued to look like a pleased cat being carried. About 5 minutes later, Toga was happily smiling while she hugged Zuko's neck and crossed her legs in front, while Dobby was nursing a small cut he had gotten when he decided to tease Toga. Dobby narrowed his eyes at the two teens. You two are like little knife gremlins or something, I swear. Toga giggled, while her head rested on Zuko's shoulder, next to his face. And she stuck out her tongue. Dobby gave her the middle finger in return. Once Dobby went up to go ahead and bother Shigaraki, Toga was calm and humming. The whole time, she made sure to hug Izuku tight. The pressure felt nice. She sat there until she noticed twice, continued to glance back at them with a sad expression, and she whispered something to Izuku. A second later, Togo was hopping off of Izuku's back and running towards Twice, and she jumped at him. Twice got into a stance to catch her, for twirling her around. Once her feet were on the ground, she dragged Twice towards Izuku so that he could get a piggyback ride. When the man was settled, he looked down at Izuku in worry. Are you sure this is okay? I'm bigger than Toga and Dobby. Don't put me down! At the question, Izuku laughed, and he hefted Twice up. It's fine, Twice. You guys aren't really heavy. It's actually a good exercise for me. It's fun, too. It's fun for you? Well, yeah. It would. Why would giving my friends a piggyback ride not be fun? Izuku asked in confusion. He was fine carrying them, and he liked it. He remembered the time where his father carry he remembered the time where he saw a father carrying their child, or when the kids in the middle school tried to pick each other up and chase their friend around the playground. He always thought it was looked fun, and he wanted to have a friend so he could give something dumb as a piggyback ride. He could have done it at UA, but it was hard. He still remembered the faces of disgust when he asked someone if he could be carried or if they wanted him to pick them up instead. He remembered the word. He remembered how their word. He remembered their words of how. Why would we want you to pick? Why would we want you? Oh my god. Why would we want something disgusting like you to touch us? I bet you couldn't even carry us with your messed up body. Yeah, I'm doing that voice. Hmm. There's something. There are. There was a lot of things Suzuki wanted to do with his friends at UA, but just did, but didn't even know how to suggest it. When he tried to or thought of it, there was an uncomfortable sensation in his gut, and those memories popped up. The sting, the sting of rejection was very much, very much fresh in his mind. Izuku had noticed how silent he had gotten until twice used a finger to tap the side of his mask gently. "It's fun for me too," the man said. "You're fun. You're a fun little dude. A little scary too, but aren't we all?" Izuku laughed and kept walking. It was late, was the thought Tomura had when he saw Midoriya down twice. It was it was that, along with another odd thought, was the reason he crouched in front of Midoriya and showed his back to the kid. "Get on before I change my mind," he said when Midoriya had yet to say anything. The next moment, Tamura felt Midoriya get on. Two arms looped loosely around his neck, and Tamura felt how Midoriya rested his chin on their shoulder. He secured his gloved grip on Midoriya's leg before standing up straight. A small smile appeared when he heard a little giggle from Midoriya at the action. Tamura was glad he decided to go out without his hands that day. A few a few minutes of walking and not hearing much of Midoriya. A few minutes of walking and not hearing much from Midoriya. Tamura tapped his fingers on one of the kid's legs. "Don't fall asleep there." The arms around his neck tightened. "I couldn't even if I tried." "Why not?" "It's called insomnia. It decides when I go to sleep, not me," Midoriya mumbled back in response. Surprisingly, Tamura couldn't exactly relate. He didn't have insomnia. He didn't have trouble sleeping. Even as a kid, it came easy. You'd think he would, but he didn't. Instead, Midoriya, the hero student, did. He's seen it firsthand with how the kid would stay awake talking to Kirigiri after everyone had gone to sleep, and how was still there before the sun even rose. "But aren't you tired?" Tamura asked, thinking about the kid's circles and how there seemed to be something dragging the kid down. Tamura felt Midoriya take a deep breath before letting out, "I'm always tired," they um, they said quietly, and could hear a loud, but he could hear it loud and clear. He could hear the exhaustion and resignation. He was once again reminded about how things how things going inside how there were things going inside the teen's head and he didn't fully understand. There was scary and concerning things that were scary and concerning to think about too much. He still remembered how uncaring they had been before they got close. Tomura secured his grip on Medora's leg. Sometimes he felt like he was slipping away. Tomura Tomura made sure to keep him secure. As they walked to the location Kirigiri was supposed to open the warp gate at. A bit before they could reach the spot, Spinner came up beside him. Compress texted that Kirigiri would open the gate in about 5 minutes. He said, and looked at Midori on his back. I think he's asleep, boss. If he is, let him. If he is, just let him sleep. Tomura responded, knowing that even though it might not be a deep sleep, it was important for Midoriya to rest. Oh, right, Spinner said. He has trouble with that. There has been nights that the little dude just stayed up all night. Yeah, Kirigiri spends times with time with him on those nights. Spinner nodded and kept walking beside them. They could see Magne talking to Dabi as Toga and Twice chased each other around the empty street. Tomura heard Spinner chuckle. It's funny, the little dude gets to go behind the bar and he gets carried by you. The scaled man looked at Tomura. I gotta say, I'm jealous, boss. Tomura snorted, as if I could carry you. Spinner shrugged and smirked. You'll never know until you try. Tomura stopped walking, and so did Spinner, who looked confused. Spinner, you're all muscle, Tomura pointed out, but giving a deadpan expression. A stupefied look appeared on Spinner's face. Was that a compliment? Hey, um, Tomura turned his face away and started walking again. Spinner skipped a few steps to catch up with him. Oh, oh, come on, boss, they said with a smirk. I'm touched. Honestly, if you wanted, I could carry you right now, since I have all this muscle. The scaled man wouldn't stop smiling at Tomura's grumbles, and that he the fact that he was holding a sleeping person meant Spinner could continue to tease without the threat of being hit or possibly the cave, something Spinner could completely take advantage of. Tomura could feel the heat of his flushed face at the teasing and stopped again, sending a glare at the man. Inoue? I cannot pronounce his name. I swear, if you don't stop, I will throw you across the room once I get my hands free, he threatened, because it was a threat. Tomura was completely thrown off by the blush appeared on Spinner's face. Why is he Hey! Are you two going to move or what? The warp gate already open now. Come on. Both Spinner and Tomura were startled and saw was calling to them. His body was sticking halfway out of the warp gate. At that was the entrance of an abandoned building heading oh my god. Both Spinner and Tomura and were startled and saw Dabi was calling to them. His body was halfway sticking out the work gate that was at the entrance of an abandoned building up ahead. Spinner coughed, and the flush was still on his cheeks. "Ah, right, let's go, boss," he said, before quickly walking away. Tamara let out a sigh once he stepped through the work gate and back at and back to the bar. Magne was already sitting at the bar counter, talking to Kirigiri while Dobby was poking at Spinner, who kept on trying to hit him. "All right, we're here," Tamara said directly at Midoriya. Tamara tried to look to the side at Midoriya, but couldn't get a clear view. He looked at Sako, who nodded before coming up to him and gently removing Midoriya's mask. He huffed um, of a huff of amusement left the musician. Our little assistant seemed to have fallen asleep. The mask With the mask off, Shigaraki could feel Midoriya's breathing on his shoulder. He smiled, knowing how it could have been difficult to maneuver Midoriya. Magne was the one to extricate him off Shigaraki. Luckily, the boy didn't have any grip on him, or Shigaraki would have been stuck with a human book bag. And she settled him next to Dabi on the couch. She smiled when she saw how Midoriya seemed to instinctively burrow himself into the couch cushion and Dabi. Dabi turned his head and poked Midoriya's cheek. "Hey, don't you have those nice gloves for your hands? Um, why do you need to dig into me like a parasite?" Midoriya grumbled before replying, "You're still warm, and you're a spoiled princess." Dabi clicked back. "Hm," was the kid's reply. Before Midoriya could fall back asleep, Twice and came over and also tapped on his cheek. One green eye opened and looked at the man that was in front of him. "I want you to call me Jin," the masked man said bluntly. The others smiled at Jin's request and shook their heads. When Toga quickly hopped to Jin, saying she wanted Midoriya to call her Himiko. It was nice when they heard a pleased hum from the boy. "I want you to call me Izuku," he mumbled. Everyone paused to look at each other. Toga was smiling ear to ear, while Dabi looked at the boy at his side with a surprised face. Magne smiled while Spinner slapped Shigaraki on the back and Sakura looked pleased while running his fingers through his hair at the bar. They all turned at the sound of a chuckle coming from the bar. Kirigiri put down a clean cup before looking in the boy's direction, with his eyes sharp in a way that made it look like he was smiling. "Alright, Izuku." Alright, that's the end of this chapter. Uh, I haven't done these in so long, so uh, sorry, doing one for like 30 minutes straight, oh, it hurts. I forgot the feeling of doing this. Um, um, I hope y'all enjoyed this fic. Hold on, my brain. If you ever decide to do one of these, I recommend trying to find shorter fics first. Kind of work yourself up. not do what I did. The first time I'd done this, I decided to do a 2-hour one. Yeah. If you ever decide to start pod picking, start slow. If you do chapter fix, that's fine. Just, I would do shorter fix to get you into a rhythm, kind of. But anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed and leave kudos to the author, and comment on their page and telling them they did an amazing job, because they did. They so did. And and leave a like, please. It don't do nothing. It's just encouragement. I don't know if I said this before, but I'm not. I don't get. I'm not getting paid to do this. I do this for fun. The only thing I would like to be paid for is for my art, which I'm working on. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed, and see y'all next time.